Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You are here for another edition of the Worst Case Scenario podcast. With me today, guys, we got D'Lo. I'm Phil. We're here to
Yo,
talk
yo.
week 3 recap, what's going on in week 4, little pro wrestling talk. Let's
A
get
little bit
right
of
into it.
Astros winning the division again as well.
Yep,
So
four straight ALs. I mean, division titles. The West. So I mean, that's impressive. We made the playoffs. Now we got to make that big run. Let's go for 8 straight ALCSs, and let's make another World Series. I'm ready for it. With a
yeah,
team that wasn't.
we're not gonna spend a lot of time on this, but I do want to address the fact that there's a very good possibility that Justin Verlander is going to be left off the playoff roster. Man, they're only allowed to carry 26 players into the playoff roster, and half of that roster is pitchers. 13 of them need to be pitchers, and they're saying that we're going to use Fromber. We're going to use that dude that we traded for, Kikuchi or whatever.
Yeah, hey,
And
he's 9-0 in games that he started for us. So I mean,
no doubt, man, he's been lights out since he came to Houston.
I know you was
And then
iffy on him too when we got him.
I know I was pissed that we
All,
gave away so many prospects
but
for him.
all he needed was some bats to have his back, and he's got that in Houston. So I mean, I look forward to him. I think that the games he starts, I think that we'll have W's in those games. We just need the other guys to step up.
Yeah. So the three starters right off the bat are going to be Fromber, Kikuchi, and Hunter Brown, and then we're going to use Blanco in the fourth spot if we need him. For the most part, we're going to use a three-man rotation. Um, and like I said, Blanco's there for the fourth spot. Now, the way Arigati pitched down the stretch, I was like, man, we should have left Blanco off and brought Arigati on. But like you said, you saw Arigati live when he first started out, and he
Yeah,
gave up like a shitload of runs, dude.
when
So
he loses, man, that dude like from the first inning gives up a lot of hits. That's something
yeah.
that you're worried about in the postseason because every game matters in the postseason. So we can't afford to have
Yeah,
a
and you're
guy
and
coming in.
you're going against the best bats in the league, in the postseason and shit. So yeah, I mean, and they said, this was his rookie campaign, and so this was a big deal that he had such a good year, but let's not put the pressure of the postseason on him, is basically what they're saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let the kid enjoy the fruits of his labor and kick back for the off season and fucking get ready for next year. You know what I mean? So
They're
uh,
saying that a dynasty is about to crumble, but it has not crumbled yet. So I think that we can make another World Series. I definitely think that we can make another ALCS. And
Well, I mean, this may be our last hope for a few years, man, because this off season we got some big names that we got to re-sign, such as Tucker and Bregman.
Tucker's
We're
back.
gonna
That's what's also, it's good to have Tucker coming back. I know we lost our last 2 games, but we've made the playoffs. So I don't know if they're kind of putting it in the autopilot right now because they're like we made the playoffs.
yeah.
I don't really know what's going on right now, but uh, Deal. I don't know if you have. Do you know who they're looking at? Who our first opponent might be in the
No,
playoffs?
I haven't looked at the wild card standings. So no, I don't know where we're gonna fall in line. I don't think that they can tell us yet because I don't know where we're gonna fall in line as
Hello.
far as
What are you doing? You working? Okay, you caught
hey
us in the middle. Caught us in the middle of the podcast, bud.
Phil, mute your mic, bud.
Oh, all right. Just hit us up, Bennett. Ladies and gentlemen, if you guys didn't already know, Bennett is working the night shift this week, so he was not able to join us on the podcast today. So you guys get a drunken free edition of this. We don't have Bennett here getting drunk, screaming, yelling
Yeah,
at the mic.
see what it is I put everything for the podcast in my name, and so I've been getting all the royalties off of it. So I quit my job while Phil and Bennett still got to work. You know what I mean?
I don't know if he's quit his job. I know that D'Lo's got dollar signs in his eyes from his accident, and he's also currently looking at getting disability at his young age. So, but Bennett said, "What up?" And he'll be back on the podcast real soon. So, let's go. We did a little baseball talk. We'll be back to talk some more Astros. We still got another week of the season left. So we'll be back to talk about them.
I think the last games are played Monday night. It's the Mets and Braves because it got postponed until Monday night. So I think those are the last games played of the regular season. So maybe we'll go live after the regular season ends, break down how we think the playoffs are going to line out and all that.
Our last regular season stretch is against the Guardians in Cleveland. So
we actually probably should have went to that game, but
that's when my kid was due, and so we thought that it would be right around there, but kid came a little early, so we don't have to.
Actually, congratulations again on fucking the arrival of the new baby and all that
stuff. Yes, Octavia Riley Higgins. So, and if you don't know, that's O'Reilly. So I mean, I managed to fit that in. I got lucky with that one. So
yeah,
but let's.
I thought she was going to go with Olivia. Why'd y'all decide on Octavia?
We had to have that O. You got to have that O for O'Reilly.
I thought she had picked Olivia initially.
No, Octavia, because it's our 8th kid between us. So Octa, 8. So whatever, you know what I'm saying? Everybody, we call her Riley, you know.
Fucking
it is what it is. She's inside sleeping. Mom's been sleeping with her ever since we just got home from the hospital yesterday. So
she's sleeping. Your mom's been sleeping with your kid?
Not my mom, the baby mom, but all right. Hey, let's get in to a little recap of week 3. All right. What do you say about that, Dustin? Let's jump right in. And I can remember some of the picks last week, some I won't, but I got a better situation next week.
I'll give you my my quick overview on a few things, and then we'll jump off into the games.
Of course, we're going to start off with last Thursday's game, though. We got to start off. I'll go ahead and take the lead on this.
The Jets. Who'd they play last Thursday?
Patriots. And we were thinking, the Patriots they were 1-1 heading into that game. They had just barely lost the week before in overtime to the Seahawks. They came out, they had beaten the Bengals. So I thought that, I'm saying, it was going to be a close game. I even believe that Bennett said the Jets would win, but on the spread, he was taking the Patriots because they had us by 6.5 points, which the Jets just came out and ran that game. I mean, from the get-go.
They had a good game plan going with their defense on Brissett, man. They kicked Brissett's ass that game, dude.
7 sacks in the game for our defense. We had a fumble recovery. Rodgers throws a couple touchdowns. He's got 5 passing touchdowns and only 1 interception through the first 3 games. He's thrown for 660 some yards. Both our running backs have stepped in. They're actually funny. They're calling both of our running backs the killer bees. So they're just they're playing good, and I've seen them get better week. Ever since that first game, they've continued to get better. Rodgers has gotten better. The team overall has gotten better. But that game last week was a statement. They're sitting at 2-1 on the season now. I was thoroughly happy.
1-0 in the division.
Yeah, which, like, anytime you get a win over the Patriots, I know Belichick's not there anymore, but it's nice. You know what I'm saying? To get those wins.
It definitely doesn't carry the same nostalgia, but at the same time, it's a division win, and you guys came out with a good game plan against Brissett. They ended up taking him out of the game and sticking May in. May didn't look any better. Right after the game was over, Mayo came out and said Brissett's the starter next week. May's not ready,
Nah,
shit like
May on his very first drive. This is the first playing time he's got all year long. He took 3 sacks on his first drive. He could do nothing against that Jet defense. So
yeah, you guys'
and
defense is good. Rodgers looked good. He's starting to get himself into form.
Mike
I mean,
Williams looked good, getting
Yeah.
the most playing time he's gotten this year through the first 3 games. Came
the
in, caught
biggest,
3
I,
passes.
I think the biggest concern with me, man, honestly, with that Jets game was every time that I seen Rodgers like even take a step to go take off running, dude, I started holding my breath. Like, is he gonna fucking go down with
Yeah.
an injury? You know what I mean?
Trust me, I'm like that too because
Because
you never know.
I know that your guys' season hinges on whether or not he's there. You know what I mean? So it's just
One thing that I will point out, if you had a like he's in there, he's staying in the game and he's playing well, he's getting better. But for me, what stood out to me so far this year has been Will McDonald IV, who last year was our first round draft pick. When we already had a bunch of defensive ends, we were like, "Why we draft this guy?" And he's showing why we drafted him because through the first 3 games, he's sitting with 5.5 sacks, second in the NFL in total sacks.
Yeah, that's
So
nice.
I mean, yeah, especially with Hassan Reddick not joining the Jets, they're so far apart on money, and it doesn't look like he's going to end up being there. There's a chance the Jets could end up trading him away, but it's only going to be for the right price.
In that situation, I mean, here's the deal: because if Reddick sits out all year and the Jets don't trade him, he has not fulfilled his contract. And so he's got to come back and fulfill that contract before he can hit the free agent market. You know what I mean? So what's he going to do? Sit out 2 years? What's he going to do? You know what I mean? Like,
what did they pay him? Because I think that there was only 1 year left on his deal. So if he doesn't play this year,
he had $8 million left on his deal this year, and so he's already. They said he's already forfeited over $2 million, and but like I said, he hasn't reported, and so they got him on a non-football injury like reserve list or whatever it is. And so because he hasn't reported, he's not fulfilling his contractual obligations. And so therefore they can make him come back and fulfill that next year if they wanted to be dicks. You know what I mean? So
we'll see what happens with that.
My thing is I think it's about time that clubs start playing a little bit of hardball with these guys, man. I understand these guys fighting for their extra money and shit like that, but in no way, shape, or form do I believe that Hassan Reddick is going to be. It should be a $30 million a year guy, dude. I just don't. I don't see him as that. You know what I mean?
I believe and that's what he's winning over $100 million in this contract, and I just any team that spends $100 million on outside of quarterback, you know what I'm saying? You're hurting your other spots in your team. So instead of having a level playing field, a level team with good players in all of them, you pay one position $200 million whatever dollars, you're going to suffer somewhere else on the team because
they were just talking about that guy that the Bears gave up a 6th round pick for, that Darrell Taylor that came from Seattle, and they were like, that dude's playing, he's playing his ass off. He's got 2 or 3 sacks already, and then he went down with an injury. We'll see, if it's anything that hampers him. But they're like, if he ends up going over like 10 sacks this year, they're like, we could see that guy being a $20 million a year guy at the end of the year. The thing about him is, dude, is he has no running defensive running skills, dude. Like he can't lock down the run. You know what I mean? He is strictly a straight line pass rusher. Those are one trick ponies, and you're talking about paying them $20 and $30 million a year. That's the type of shit that hampers a organization that has a salary cap. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, you're paying too much for a guy that doesn't do multiple things, man.
No, he gets sacks. I mean,
yeah,
that's what their job is.
So if you need somebody to either cover the run or you need somebody to drop back in pass coverage, you're having to throw somebody else in there to do those things. And
unless
That's
you're
more
still a
money.
player, because if you've already spent so much money, you spend 120 million on an edge rusher. How can you afford an outside linebacker or two outside linebackers? You know what I'm saying? A great tackle and then another defensive end on the other side. How can you
You're
afford all these
backing your
guys?
Yeah, you're backing yourself into a corner to where you got to hit on every draft pick, dude. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
And they just
so
don't, not every draft pick is going to hit.
no, no.
So, all
So
right, let's get on to the next one, man. We had, they started off Thursday night. Then we had the Chargers versus the Steelers, which I'm not gonna lie, going into it, I said the Chargers are gonna come out and they're gonna thump the Steelers. That was my
I
reckoning.
think we all did. I think me, you, and Bennett all chose the Chargers. We expected Harbaugh and Herbert to, honestly, man, I made a comment today. Um, I'm a Bears fan. Everybody knows I'm a Bears fan, and so I got a lot of experience in watching Justin Fields play. And I said today in a comment on Facebook, I said I believe that Justin Fields would be a better fit in the Harbaugh scheme than Justin Herbert, and that's the truth, man. If you look at how Harbaugh used Kaepernick when he was with the Niners, that's the type of player you're looking at with Justin Fields. You know what I mean? So
But he's more of a college player. You know what I'm saying? Like he excelled in college, and that's what Hardball did was he could get those guys to perform in college. A lot of these guys will kill it in college, and as soon as they make it to the NFL, it's not the same as college. You're not taking on teams that have lesser players. In the NFL, every team is stacked with the best of the best players.
well, I mean, so does that make Harbaugh a better coach than like a Nick Saban or something who came to the NFL and failed? But Harbaugh has done both and done very well, and he's brought players up into the NFL that people said weren't going to trend, weren't going to change over well, and he's brought them in and they've excelled under
Well,
him.
let's see what he does because on paper, the Chargers were a very good team already.
Yeah, I agree, man,
So
and it
if he
looks to me
struggles to win there,
well,
when
he's
when
having
Saban came in,
issues.
Saban did not have a good team in Atlanta when he took over that team. Saban came into Atlanta, right?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He
So
walked away like mid-season, didn't
yes, because he wasn't used to it. In Alabama, they stomped teams.
he?
That's what
Yeah,
they did.
yeah.
They stomped teams because they were lesser teams.
And I think Saban had built LSU up to that before he went to Atlanta. He
Yeah.
he was the head coach. He had won I think he won the national title at LSU right before he got hired in Atlanta, man. So
But it's crazy because when you think about it, for all that he did there, he did his best work in Alabama.
yes, yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah.
he look how many championships he brought there. Now,
Well,
Alabama already had a winning way.
what I'm saying is Jim Harbaugh a better coach than you got your Nick Sabans, you got your how many fucking college coaches have came up to the pro ranks and not been able to hack your fucking who's that Urban Meyer fucking I mean just there's
Lou,
endless amounts of coaches.
the old coach from Notre Dame, um, won our last national title for us, Lou Holtz.
Oh yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
if you know this, but he left Notre Dame and came to the New York Jets. Did not make it a full season before they fired him,
That's crazy.
but he did great in college football. So I mean, it's just one of those things. I'm not saying it's easy to be a coach in the college level. It's easier if you have a program. If you come into a program already that has a winning culture already and already has these
Well,
elite players wanting to play for them.
absolutely. And if you even if you come into a program that's down and you have a winning culture and you are good at recruiting, soon as you start pulling them 5-star recruits in and shit like that, college football is so much different than the pros. Everybody in the pros is a 5-star fucking recruit.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
James faster, stronger at the
Yeah,
NFL level.
absolutely.
But
Yeah.
Chip Kelly didn't he leave coming to the NFL for the Eagles?
And a lot of people will like say that he failed, but I mean, he had a couple like 9-7, 10-6 seasons and shit like that. I mean, he wasn't horrible as a coach. But yeah, he did, man. He left college, came to the NFL, and then he went to now he's with UCLA, I believe.
Name an NFL coach that was great in the NFL and left the NFL and went to college and succeeded.
Yeah, Lovie Smith didn't do so well at Illinois. I'm trying to think, man. And Herm Edwards didn't do great at Arizona State.
No.
Uh,
Not
I don't.
see, I mean, it's two different worlds. I'm not saying it's easy, but it makes it a lot easier if you go to a college program that already has the top players willing to come there just based on them being a Notre Dame, a Alabama, a Georgia, a Florida, something like that. So I mean,
Well, yeah, I mean, I fully expected when Brian Kelly left Notre Dame and went down to LSU. I fully expected that.
I wish death on that man once he did that.
He's a piece of shit, dude. Like for him to go down there and start trying to talk with a Creole accent and shit, dude. Like what the fuck? So,
That sounds like us when we've been drinking.
yeah, I don't mind to tell you what.
Yeah, it sounds like the Water Boy cast.
Yeah. So what game are we on to now, man?
Okay. But in that game, we were talking about the Chargers and the Steelers, and in that game, the Steelers came in with Justin Fields at quarterback, and they clipped the Chargers, man, 20-10.
They did. And Justin Fields is 3-0 as a starter with the Steelers, and
Who saw that at the start of the season? Who said 3 weeks in the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be 3-0? I didn't. I don't think too many people would have put money on that.
I actually, talking to my Uncle Bill, I'm like, what are you expecting? And he's like, a down year. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. But that was just the first one we talked about. It won't be the last one we talk about with shockers. And the next one, going into the season on paper, one of the best offensive teams that you would have said were the Texans. And I guarantee you last week I put my money on the Texans, and the Minnesota Vikings came out and delivered an ass whooping of 34-7 against the Texans. I mean, the Vikings, and I keep saying this, are they for real? Are they for real? I still don't know if they're for real because of number one, I know who their quarterback is.
They're talking like that dude's like in the fucking MVP conversation and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the only thing I can say is remember this: when he was traded from the Jets and went to the Panthers, he started out hot. Panthers won their first 3 games, and I remember he did not throw a touchdown, but he had like 5 rushing touchdowns in those first 3 games for the Panthers. But then the real world hit, and he ended up getting benched a couple games later, and he was out of there within the next year or two, and was traveling around. So I'm just waiting because I know that the minute that I believe that they're for real is the minute that the floor will drop out, the clock will strike midnight, the carriage turns back to a pumpkin, and the Minnesota Vikings realize they're not as good as what they think they are. But it hasn't happened yet. And I keep waiting for it to happen, and it may not happen. And I realize that. I know that we play them not this week, but next week. We play them in London, 9 o'clock early game. I'll be up early watching that. I know my buddy Chad. I know he's loving this right now. He is loving, because if you would have asked him, and I did this past week, he said all the problems were Kirk Cousins. I don't know how how is Kirk Cousins all the problems when Kirk Cousins were putting up numbers? He put up MVP type numbers year in and year out. Go ahead.
He said Kirk.
You cut in and out there, bud. What'd you say? It sounds like we may have lost Dustin. Are you there, bud? Oh, we have lost him. I'm going to have to wait and see if he joins back in on the conversation. I can tell you this much. I don't know if the Minnesota Vikings are for real. So far, they have played the role. They have knocked off 2 powerhouse teams, in my opinion, that were in the 49ers and the Texans. So I'm just waiting to see. They have not tasted defeat this season, so it's hard to sit back and say that this team is not 100% legit. We got Dustin back. You back, D'Lo? You there, bud?
Okay.
You're going in and out.
Oh man.
Are you at home?
Yeah, I walked outside and the Wi-Fi's shitty here. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're back in now. Yeah, we got Dustin back, ladies and gentlemen. I was still just going on talking about the Vikings and if they're for real or not. Like I said, they beat two powerhouses in the 49ers and the Texans.
I mean the shit, they look legit, bro. I mean they're showing all the signs of being legit. It's crazy to me, man, because not only did they have to replace the production of Kirk Cousins, they replaced Madison with old boy from Jones. But the crazy thing is to me is they had to replace 20 plus sacks or whatever, fucking 18 sacks or whatever with fucking Hunter, man. And their defense looks like it's not missing a beat, dude. And I mean, their team looks legit, bro. They're showing all the signs of they're going to end up fucking running the North. They look better than the Lions right now to me. So
I'll tell you what, for the third straight game, Naylor, the rookie wide receiver, has had a touchdown. That guy has stepped in no matter what.
Did you grab him in your fantasy crew?
I did not, and I should have. I was wishing that I did. I didn't, and he's played well. But I'll tell you who I did pick up instead of him was Jennings from the 49ers, and I'm thankful that I did, and I started him, and that dude got me 41 points this past week, so I'm not hating on that.
Hell yeah.
Because he's played excellent. But the Vikings, they're doing their thing.
I believe that I took the who was it that they played?
They played the Texans.
Yeah, I took the Texans, man.
I did too.
So
and I think actually when we did the picks last week, Bennett actually took the Vikings because I was shocked by it because it was like taking in division rival to pick a game. But I mean, he said he was being honest.
I'll tell you what, dude, when I sit down and talk to Bennett, man, that dude can evaluate some shit. Like when he's sober and he's actually talking sensible, like that dude can evaluate like, you know, like he breaks shit down to a good science, but then he starts getting shit faced and you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? So
the second that he pops a shooter, it's like you're turning that hourglass, that sand hourglass, and you know you got this amount of time before this guy is yelling into the microphone, screaming and shouting incoherent babble before he's passed out and has pissed himself.
Hey, I just want to let you know, man. I mean, I guess it's as good a place as any to let you know that depending on what comes out of this wreck situation and shit, we'll probably be doing like an O'Reilly cruise or something, man. Like, yeah. So.
Well, let me be the first to say hell yeah. And unfortunately, I could also see Bennett falling off a man overboard, a drunken cruise ship.
Bennett, part of it is that he's got to wear a life jacket at all times. You know what I'm saying? So with the little arm floaty.
And I'll at least hide the piss stains. But let's go on to the next one. Another game where we assumed it was two good teams taking on each other, but one had been a rambling through opponents, and that was the Saints and the Eagles. And yet somehow that Eagles defense showed up and managed to only allow 12 points to the Saints as the Eagles won 15-12. What do you think about this game walking away from it?
I think that I can't remember, man. Let me look at my picks that I sent in to my Uncle Bill because I got to figure that I kept the picks pretty much the same. I took the Eagles on that one, man. So
I took the Saints. I really thought the Saints were going to come in.
As much as I was probably giving the Saints props for what they done, I think I must have felt like the Eagles were going to bounce back or something, you know.
Well, the Saints have been putting up like 40-some points a game. So, I mean, it was one of those things where Carr had been lights out. I mean, he had just been doing everything. Kimura was playing his part. The D was stepping up, and then all of a sudden, like the Eagles get this win, and you in a not a lot of points scored. So it shocked me. I really thought that the Saints were going to come in and deliver some uppercut blows and walk away and still be undefeated, but it was the Eagles getting their arm raised, and so on the next one, another surprise from a team that had come out and played. Their quarterback had exercised the demon of Tom Brady, and yet the Bucks come out and lose to the Broncos, with the Broncos picking up their first win, 26-7. It was in Tampa Bay, and yet they came out and
nobody saw that coming.
no,
I don't even think that Bo Nix threw a touchdown in that game. I think he had one or two rushing touchdowns, but it just that's one of those things with the Bucks, man. Is like, as much as we have given them props because they played well so far, they're still going to be up and down. And who is their coach? Todd Bowles down there.
yes.
And then who's the coach in Atlanta then?
I'll have to look it up. And yes, Bo Nix did not throw a touchdown pass, but he did run for one. He had 47 yards rushing on 9 attempts, 216 passing yards in that game.
And the thing is Sean Payton's supposed to be this offensive mastermind, man. Like, he's supposed to be able to hang with the Shanahans and the McVays and all that shit. And things ain't looking great up there in Denver so far. So,
You're talking about Raheem Morris.
Yeah, Raheem Morris is the coach in Atlanta. Yeah.
Yes. But no, I did not see that coming. Like I said, I would have put money that the Bucks would have won that game. It was the Broncos. The Broncos hadn't done shit in their first two games, so they didn't give us any reason to believe that they were going to come out and play the way that it did. But man, they came out and they shut the Bucks up. They shut down Baker Mayfield, and they look good doing it.
They sure did.
On to the next one, your division rival, the Packers, picking up a 30-14 win over the Titans. I had taken the Titans. I thought that the Titans were due. The Titans had lost to the Bears and the Jets in their first two games, but they didn't look garbage doing it. So I figured that this game would be one that they would come out, they would fight hard, and they would win. But they only put up 14. Their defense gave up 30, and the Packers, with a backup quarterback, get another win.
I do believe that I took the Packers in this one. And honestly, I think I was wrong on that last one. I think I took the Saints, but I think I took the Packers on this one. Like I said, I just don't have any faith in Will Levis, man. I think he's lost all of his swag and his confidence, and now he's just trying to make something happen when his team. He's not on a great team anyway.
He didn't play bad though. He had 260 passing yards.
Yeah, they're not horrible, but his offensive line isn't great, and
what was horrible in that game for the Titans wasn't Levis. Levis threw 2 touchdowns. He did throw 2 INTs. He threw for 260 yards, but the Titans had no rushing game.
Let's we'll get to that because the Bears are going through the same shit right now. Caleb Williams' stats were just a little bit better than Levis's, but our
Tennessee rushed for a total of 33 yards, with their main rusher being Pollard, 14 yards in the game, and Levis picking up another 12.
When you got Pollard as your number one, he's just not a number one guy, dude.
But they signed him thinking that he was. They let Henry walk.
Yeah.
And they signed him thinking he was going to be a number one, and he has not been. He is, and Spears, who at times have looked good, only put up 7 yards rushing.
I think both of their running backs are good change of pace guys, but not front runners, dude. So
no. Nope. On to the next one. We had another surprise. Like, it was loaded with surprise wins, And this was a surprise to me. The Giants picking up a 21-15 win over the Browns, and they traveled to Cleveland and did it there. What's your take on this?
Uh, you know, this was a definite surprise. One of the definite surprises of the week for me because the Giants were one of the two teams that I said was a possibility of not winning a game this year.
You had said something about Jones, that maybe him getting benched. We had talked about DeVito stepping back in and maybe playing.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
no, what saved him was he threw 2 touchdown passes to Neighbors, the rookie, who's looked great in his first year.
Now, who was it that they beat? Was it Washington? Who did
Um,
they play? Who did the Giants play?
oh, the Browns.
The Browns. So that's a big surprise because their defense
Yes,
is usually
and they did it
good.
in Cleveland.
Yeah, that's crazy. I would say tonight they play the Cowboys. The Cowboys have had a leaky defense all year. So if Jones can come out and do this a couple weeks in a row, I'll start to retract my Jamarcus Russell statement. I said he's the next Jamarcus Russell. So
Well, he's just which one? Are you talking about Daniel?
Daniel Jones.
Yeah. I don't know if that and I remember Bennett and you talking about this last week. It's hard to top Jamarcus Russell because the whole reason that we have a rookie pay scale now is because of Jamarcus Russell. He took that team for 80 million and didn't do shit for him. Just right. They got more out of Sebastian Janikowski, who was a first-round draft pick. They got more out of him as a kicker when people said that they were nuts. But he gave them more for being a first-round draft pick than Jamarcus Russell did.
Absolutely. Yeah, he did. And I guess the only reason I make the comparison is because I feel like Daniel Jones signed that $190 million deal or whatever, and he's not going to do shit, dude. Like he's going to end up every year. He's going to finish with more interceptions than touchdowns. Like he's trash, dude. And I just I don't like the dude at all, man. So.
No, it's evident. It's very, very clear. He's a fan of DeVito, and we're talking about Danny DeVito's son, Tommy DeVito.
Not Danny DeVito's son, damn it. All right, let's move
American
on.
icon. All right, next up we had I took the losing team in this one. I backed them and I should have known better. We had the Colts picking up a 21-16 win over your Chicago Bears. What did you walk away from this game saying?
All right, here you go, man. This is the evaluation and this is the truth, man. The Colts came into the game with the NFL's worst rushing defense. We didn't rush. I think we rushed for 50 yards, maybe. We signed
53 yards in this game.
Okay, we signed Swift in the offseason to a $24 million deal.
And he gave you 20 yards.
Swift has like 43 or 44 yards through 3 games.
He's got 68 yards.
Our offensive line is trash. We've given up endless sacks and endless pressures in all the games. Bill Belichick, I guess, who is going to go down as one of the best coaches in the game ever, has publicly come out and made fun of our GM for the way he built our team with putting superstars all around the outside and shit, but not building your core up. Our offensive and defensive line are probably one of the worst in the league. In saying that, Caleb Williams threw for almost 300 yards this game.
Hey, let me tell you. I'll tell you the stats because he threw for over 300. He threw for 363 yards. He threw 2 touchdowns. He did have 2 interceptions. He was sacked 4 times for 31 yards and lost 33 of 52. So how do you? He also threw in one carry for 8 yards in running the ball. So how do you? He also had a fumble and he lost it.
In
Evaluate his game.
in no way, shape, or form should a rookie quarterback be throwing the ball 52 times in a game. That should not be happening.
Traditionally, no.
But
Would you say that, though, had you guys walked away with the win? Would you be
yes,
upset with
yes,
Caleb Williams
I
throwing the
would
ball?
say, I would still say you got to take the pressure off of this kid, dude. Like, you're going to ruin him before he even has a chance to get started.
Let me ask you
My
this.
my final evaluation of this game is Anthony Richardson is still trash.
I agree.
And Matt Eberflus, the head coach of the Chicago Bears, and all of his staff need to be fired immediately before they permanently damage what is supposed to be our franchise quarterback for years to come.
With you saying Richardson is trash, I would like to go ahead and give his stats. He was 10 of 20. 10 of 20 for 167 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Your defense only got to him 1 time.
That's crazy. But
He did run the ball 8 times for 24 yards.
That's what I was gonna say. He was taken off out of the pocket a lot. But
Do you
I
blame
mean,
this loss on in Indianapolis? Do you blame this loss on Seth Rollins wearing a Chicago Bears jersey and falling out onto the field and being booted from the stadium, which
no.
obviously is a plan set up. We have the Royal Rumble getting ready to happen in January, well, the beginning of February in Indianapolis in Lucas Oil Stadium. I know that they were trying to set something up. You can obviously tell that it was a setup. But do you put any of this on Seth Rollins?
Absolutely not. I'm a Seth Rollins fan. This loss is completely on the coach's play calling and the terrible offensive line, and there's no excuse otherwise.
I would say ideally, as a Bears fan, as you would rather them have cut back on some of the passes had they been able to run the ball. They just were not able to run the ball against Indianapolis, who was giving up. I want to say it was one of the league leading most yards their defense was giving up, and yet somehow
they were the worst. They were the worst rushing defense coming into the game, but
and your defense gave up 150 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground.
Let me tell you something about this rushing attack that we have here. This 68-yard rushing attack game. We paid DeAndre Swift $24 million this offseason. The dude's got 68 yards in 3 games or whatever it is. And to me, it looks like he has zero vision. Instead of even trying to bounce it out when if he tries to hit a hole or something and it's not there, he tries to get through that hole. Like, the dude's trash. We have played Herbert and this last week we played Roschon Johnson, which Roschon Johnson played very well. I expect him to get an extended role this coming week.
I wouldn't say played very well. He had 30 yards on the ground compared to 20 by Swift. Just your offensive line was not opening up holes. Either that or those guys just weren't hitting the holes.
How many carries on each one, and then how many catches?
All right, when it came to rushing,
Roschon had a good enough game to where they're like he's getting more playing time this coming week. Like,
all right, when it came to rushing, Roschon Johnson had 8 carries, 30 yards, 3.8 yards a carry.
Okay,
DeAndre Swift had 13 for 20, 1.5.
That's terrible.
I know. When it came to receiving, Roschon Johnson had 4 catches, 32 yards. Swift had 2 catches, 22 yards.
Yeah, it's not good, man. So
no,
1.5 yards a carry is trash, dude. And you're an $8 million a year running back. So
I'm not disagreeing with you, man.
But
all right.
Anyway,
I don't want to ruin your mood by talking anymore about the Bears' loss, because we like to look forward here at the Worst Case Scenario podcast.
Yep.
We're going to go on to another one that was a shocker. This team, we said day in and day out, was the worst team. They came out and made a quarterback change.
I know exactly who we're talking
Yes, and they came out and they weren't playing against a stellar team, but they were playing against a team who we believed was better overall on paper, better overall in person. But yet somehow the Panthers came out after only picking up in the first 2 games, they had 13 points. 13 points. They came out and put up 36 points and defeated the Las Vegas Raiders in Las Vegas 36-22. Tell me what you walked away thinking about this game, Dustin.
Every fucking time that Andy Dalton gets one of those spur of the moment starts, dude, he plays very well. Now, as teams get tape on him again, he'll slow down, and that team will fall from grace. They're not.
But it's something that he brought to the table, because I'm going to tell you some stats real quick. Here were their stats. Andy Dalton, 319 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. All right. But it wasn't just that. He opened up the running game, and Hubbard came in 21 carries, 114 yards. Miles Sanders added 17 yards, got a touchdown. And the overall rushing, they ran for 131 yards. I mean, he let Johnson, who hadn't done much there, Johnson had 8 receptions for 122 yards and a touchdown. Hubbard added another 5 catches for 55 yards and a touch. Yeah. I mean, he opened up the game for everybody. And the defense came out registering 3 sacks. They had an interception.
What do you take from that? Do you take that's a veteran quarterback and you can just throw the playbook at him and say, let's run everything? Or do you take
that Young is really that horrible?
That Young's skills were so bad that they had to limit it and run a fucking kindergarten playbook, dude.
I don't think that we've been shy about hiding the fact that we believe that Young was a horrible first pick, and he was the number 1 overall pick, that it was the worst pick possible. Like, there was other quarterbacks that you could have taken.
Why do you think that teams are reaching out? Like, it appears to me that there's teams out there that
desperate.
They think you don't think that there's somebody that thinks that they could really fix this kid? You know what I'm saying? Like,
but where on paper did you think that this Young came out of Alabama, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's the case of Alabama being stacked with all this talent and made him look better. And I know you could say the same for Stroud, but Stroud he stepped in last year and showed that he probably should have been the number 1 overall pick.
I agree.
In the way that he played last year. I know this year it's a little rocky, especially when he has all that talent around him. But Young coming out, he wasn't that big. I think he's 6'1". And so it surprised a lot of people that he was number 1.
I think he's barely over 6 foot, if he's even over 6 foot.
So. Yeah. It's just one of those things where, as bad as a team that we said Carolina was, Andy Dalton stepped in and said they're not that bad. They just had a bad quarterback playing. And when that's the leader, no matter how you want to look at it, the quarterback position in the NFL, that's your captain on every team. That is your captain. And they did not have a very good captain. And
that's what Andy Dalton brought to the table, is he steadied the ship, man. Like they were, leaning real hard. That ship was getting ready to go under completely. And, all of a sudden, he was the steady. He just came in and steadied that motherfucker. And
I can tell you that I chose Las Vegas. I really thought Gardner Minshew.
We all did. We all expected Vegas to fucking run through them, man. But Vegas is gonna have this year, man, because this is the Gardner Minshew show. It's almost like Ryan Fitzpatrick, bro. Like,
yeah, but he didn't finish the game.
Aiden O'Connell did.
Yes, he came in. All right, here's the stat numbers for Las Vegas. Gardner played 18 of 28 for 214 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. He was sacked twice. O'Connell came in and was 9 of 12 for 82 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks, and was only sacked once.
I wonder if that opens up a controversy then.
It could, but also Las Vegas has struggled to run the ball. White, who is their number one running back, trust me, I have him as one of my fantasy players. He ran the ball 10 times for 34 yards. Gardner added 3 for 14. Madison added 3 for 7.
They signed that Madison out of fucking Minnesota.
Yeah, he had a touchdown for him this week, rushing only 3 times for 7 yards.
Yeah, he's a short yard guy.
But who's also missing right now is Devontae Adams. He had 4 catches for 40 yards.
Bowers, he's unhappy, man. He's not voicing it so much. Like he's saying little subtle shit, but he wants to be with the Jets so bad.
Yeah, he does. Yep. Their number one receiver was the guy that I'll be honest, I've never heard his name. His name was Trey Tucker. 7 catches, 96 yards, and a touchdown. Then Jacoby Myers, 7 catches, 62 yards, and a touchdown. Brock Bowers coming in with 3 catches, 41 yards. And then Devontae Adams.
He's been a good tight end for him, man, so far.
You know, and they already had Michael Mayer from Notre Dame the year before they drafted. He only had 1 catch for 7 yards, but
maybe they're using Mayer as the blocking guy, but wasn't he a downfield threat at Notre Dame?
Yeah, he's a big boy. He's 6'6". He's a big body tight end. But yet they didn't use him a whole lot last year. And then this year they had a chance to pick up Bowers, and they did. Bowers the week before, he had set some kind of a rookie number. I think it was most catches or whatever for a tight end for Vegas. But this week he comes out and only has 341. That's the world of the tight end. Not too many times. You have your elites, but hell, I mean, even like Kelsey right now is struggling. Kittle has struggled this year. Hawkinson's out on the DL. And Diego's got his dogs going.
Yeah, got up and walked into the bedroom because the old lady's coming home and shit. So, but anyway,
but yes, that was a surprise. That was a big time surprise. I don't think you could say anybody. I know all of us picked the Raiders last week. Nobody saw the Panthers doing that. And that was just to add to another team that stepped up in week 3 and overperformed considering what they had done already. Next up, you could say this, but a lot of the teams saw this coming with their quarterback injury, but the Dolphins, they go to Seattle and they only put up 3 points and lose 24-3 to the Seahawks.
Yeah, we got a couple buddies that we know that are Dolphins fans, and they seem to have fucking faith in that young dude that is their quarterback there,
Skylar Thompson.
Yeah, but I didn't have no faith, and I said that they should have went out and reached out to a veteran like a Tannehill or Brady was a long shot, of course, but I mean there's a few out there that you could have reached out to, or you could have inquired some teams like who's got Jimmy Garoppolo right now? Is he? I think he's with the Rams, backing up Stafford or something. So
did he leave the Cowboys?
Garoppolo?
Oh yeah, no, Garoppolo wasn't there. That was Trey Lance that was there. Garoppolo was with the Raiders last year, and I don't know where he's at now. To be honest with you, he's fallen off the radar so far that I can't tell you where he is or what he's been doing. And at one time, everybody was so high on Jimmy Garoppolo, and that he has dropped so far from the public eye.
Oh yeah, think about it, man. I mean, he's played for 4 or 5 teams, dude. I think 4 teams since the Patriots. He went from the Patriots to the 49ers. I was
still under the thought that they still had Teddy Bridgewater down there. Where's Teddy Bridgewater? I was just like, why are you going with Skylar Thompson? You had all these other guys that was there within the last year or two in Miami. You go with Skylar Thompson, and he put up 107 yards on an offense that has Waddle and Hill in that running game, and yet running game.
Well, I think both of their running backs have been banged up. So I mean, I guess you can give that fucking credit, but yeah, I didn't have no faith in that Skylar Thompson dude, and fucking like I said, I think we all called it out that they should have reached out to Tannehill, but
last year the Jets backup came in and ended up finishing the game for the Dolphins. Tim Boyle, former Packer quarterback and Jet quarterback, came in and finished the game 7 for 13 for 79 yards. Skylar Thompson was sacked 5 times. Tim Boyle was sacked once. And their running back there, I can never say his name, Asinine, Achine, whatever, I don't. They're in Miami. He ran the ball 11 times for 30 yards as a team together. They only ran the ball 18 times for 65 yards. Tyreek Hill was held to 3 receptions for 40 yards, but was their number 1 receiver. Waddle, 4 catches, 26 yards.
It almost feels like you're wasting some of the best wide receiver talent in the NFL, man. Both of those guys are on their any given day can be fucking great, dude. So
no, but it's definitely a shocker, and it makes you wonder. Leaving that game, Seahawks are 3-0. They're one of the teams that are undefeated. I think there's 5 teams undefeated in NFL right now, and Seahawks, and they made the playoffs last year. They had that push. Geno Smith. What I'm talking about?
Wasn't the offensive coordinator for wasn't the head coach of the Seahawks the offensive coordinator in Miami last year? Mike
He may have been. Yeah, he may have been.
Yeah.
But we'll go on to the next one. And this one, too, we knew it was 2 powerhouses. We had the Ravens. We had the Cowboys playing in Dallas. And Ravens pulled out a 28-25 victory. We just thought that maybe the Cowboys had that number 1 D. And somehow the Ravens came out and they were able to pick up the win. I thought maybe I chose Dallas. I really can't tell you, but both teams now are sitting at 1-2 on the season. Leaves you wondering what's going on in Dallas. That was a Ravens' first win, for heaven's sakes. With Jackson only throwing 182 yards and a touchdown, Dak Prescott did put up some numbers, 379 yards and 2 touchdowns, but there was no running game in Dallas. And Henry did put up 151 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns to lead the team to victory. What is your opinion on this game?
Dallas is still struggling on defense. Give me just a second, bud. Give me just a second.
We'll look at some of the other numbers on the day. We had Henry running the ball 25 times for 151 yards, 2 touchdowns. Lamar Jackson added 14 carries for 87 yards and a touchdown. Justice Hill came in 5 carries, 33 yards. And Zay Flowers running the ball 1 time for 3 yards. Together as a unit, Baltimore rushed for 274 yards and 3 touchdowns. Obviously, that is what carried them to victory.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, I'll say it again. I've been saying it that Lamar Jackson's a glorified running back. He can throw the ball a little bit, but he's better with his legs than anything else. Derrick Henry looked like he came back to form this week. I mean, he murdered that defense. Just one of those.
Tell two different opposites though. From Baltimore's side, they were running the ball on the ground, and then on Dallas's side, to Dak's credit, he hit 12 different receivers. 12 different receivers. None of them had over 100 yards. Jake Ferguson, their tight end, came the closest, 6 receptions, 95 yards. CeeDee Lamb put up 4 catches for 67 yards.
They said he was throwing a fit or something on the sideline. Him and Dak got into a little bit of an argument or something, and then he came out later this week and apologized and just said it was frustrating.
That's what happens though, as you just talked about with Caleb Williams throwing the ball 52 times. Dak threw the ball 51 times, 28 for 51.
Yeah.
He had high numbers. He was sacked 3 times, but Dallas in the rushing department, ran the ball 16 times for 51 yards and only
Well, I
one
mean,
touchdown.
you got fucking Ezekiel Elliott and fucking Dalvin Cook up there fucking running the ball, man. Like, what?
Dalvin Cook didn't get any rushes. Rico DeWald, what is it?
I don't know. I don't know who that is.
DeWindle. That's
I
who
don't know.
their number one running back is. 8 carries, 32 yards. Zeke 3 catches, 6 yards. It just Dallas couldn't get the ball running on the ground, so they had to take to the air. To where Baltimore saw a little bit through the air, but hell, they ran the ball and they controlled. And we all know that when you run the ball, you control the clock, and that's what they did.
For sure. For sure. It stretches those drives out to where, uh, an end-to-end drive can take fucking 10 minutes off the clock, dude. So, that's what running the ball does. So if you're having success running the ball, you're probably going to control the time of possession.
That's fact. We'll hit up our next game in this one. Lions traveling to Arizona, and they picked up a 20-13 victory over the Cardinals. I did take the Cardinals. I figured, hell, man, after the way they played the week before, I thought we would see something big out of them, and they lost the game. But once again, Golf looked good, coming in for 199 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had 1 pick. Kyler Murray, 207 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. I guess in the end, as it is always with Detroit, they have the two-headed monster running the ball up there, with Montgomery running the ball 23 times, 105 yards and a touchdown, and Gibbs running the ball 16 times, 83 yards, together running the ball for 187 yards and 1 touchdown.
Did you happen to see the play where the Montgomery was running the ball and they picked the Cardinals players were trying to like gang tackle him? There were several of them, and they ended up picking him up off of the ground, and they ended up carrying him like 4 more yards, dude. It was crazy. So,
well, he is definitely the thunder to Gibbs lightning. Montgomery is the heavier guy that is he bowling ball. He rolls over people, and to where Gibbs is more the lightning quick. He can hit the outsides. He can bounce around more than what Montgomery will. But that's a two-headed monster that I see happening with my Jets. And anytime you see that, you know that you, as I just said, you control the time of possession when you run that ball. So it's always great to have not one but 2 running backs that can go out there and get you yards like that, man. And Detroit had it in this game, and they only had to go to St. Brown 7 times, 75 yards and a touchdown. They hit their tight end only twice for 36 yards. And man, they picked up. I wouldn't say it was an easy win, but it was a win where you never really was in doubt, even though the game was close in score.
Yeah, last week Kyler and Marvin Harrison Jr. kind of went off, and I expected them to come back down to earth a little bit this week, and that's what they did. So,
but
yeah,
even in that, let's see. Marvin Harrison Jr. did have 5 catches, led the team with 64 yards and a touchdown. So he didn't fall off the bench. He still put up. They got to hit Trey McBride more. He had 3 catches, 25 yards.
They're going to have to do something to take the defenders are going to lock in on Harrison Jr. if that's what Kyler's doing, man. And so they're going to have to get another receiver on the other side.
In this game, they had Michael Wilson, who had Marvin Harrison had 5 catches. He had 8 catches. They both had 64 yards, but Harrison did have the touchdown, and he averaged more yards per catch, 12 to 8. So
Michael Wilson is. I've never even heard of the dude.
So. Yeah, I didn't. Me either, to be honest with you. So, but on this next one, we got. It's a shocker, too. Here's another one. We had the 49ers traveling to Los Angeles to play the Rams, and the Rams, without both receivers, you didn't think that they were going to do much, and they surprised us when the Rams picked up a 27-24 victory, and I believe that was their first win on the season. What's your takeaway from this?
I was saying I watched a little bit of that game, and there was somebody I locked in on, and it was somebody. I don't know if you remember me talking about it, but I said, "Will Stafford do the same thing this week that he did with Puka Nakua last year?"
Yes, you brought that up.
And I mean, this guy's really not a new guy. When Puka Nakua was getting,
Hey, Destin, run this. I'm going to use the bathroom, so you just keep talking about this. I'll be joining you right back in a second.
all right, man. But when Puka Nakua was starting to come up and he was starting to get the ball thrown his way a lot, this guy was on the other side because Cooper Kupp was out. But this guy's name is Tutu Atwell, and he kind of came out and shined a little bit, and that's who I expect to step up while Nakua and Kupp are out is Tutu Atwell. Now let's see if another guy, they may have a rookie. They'd be down to their fourth and fifth receivers by the time it's said and done. So I don't even know who they have up there as their tight end. They got that. Man, I can't. I'm terrible with these names. Phil's usually the names guy. Their running back, he's solid, man. That Kyron Williams or Kieran something, I don't know, but he's solid. I think he had a touchdown this week, but the thing about it is, man, is with Stafford, he's a gunslinger. He's almost like Stafford kind of has those Favre qualities. He's a gunslinger, man. He'll sling that ball up and give you a chance every time he's on the field.
I'm back here with you, bud.
That receiver's name that I was talking about, that I was saying, is stepping up now that that Nakua and Kupp are down, is that Tutu Atwell.
Okay.
So
what was his stats? Did you see his stats?
No, but I think he was probably their leading receiver, and like I said, I expect him to be their guy going forward. The problem with him is I think he's more of a slot type of receiver, and they're going to be wanting to play on the outside and things like that. And I just don't know if he's built for that shit.
Well, you're 100% correct on that. He had 4 catches, 93 yards. They weren't putting up much numbers through the air. 221 yards, 1 touchdown is what Stafford threw for. And on the other side, Purdy, who was 292 yards, 3 touchdowns, throwing all 3 of those touchdowns to Jennings, as we said. Jennings stepping up with Debo being out hurt. So, what is it? Ayuk was still there. He only had 5 catches, 48 yards. But Jennings stepping in on that role, like I told you, I picked him up. I started him in my fantasy. 11 catches, 175 on the yards, 3 touchdowns. It was pretty impressive, the numbers that he put up.
Yeah, I'd say, man. I mean, in fantasy leagues, that'd be going down more than a lot of the quarterbacks that played, and shit like
41
that.
points. Usually if you get a quarterback that averages 20 to 30 points, that's good. 41 points for a player, that's outstanding. Yes, for a guy that nobody knew of. There was a couple of guys I started on my bench.
Did you throw him in as your flex or what?
No, I put him in as a starting receiver. I was hurting. I needed. The funny part was one of the guys that I had sitting on the bench was actually Kupp, who's been injured, and yet he came in and man, he dialed it up and put up some numbers. Mason, though, ever since that Jet game, his numbers have went down. He did add 77 yards on 19 rushes for the 49ers. He did also add 2 catches for 11 yards. But
I tell you what, man, the Rams, their offensive setup, it reminds me a lot of the Texans.
yeah,
there's like 3 good receivers there, and it's the same way in the Rams, man. They have Cooper Kupp, they have Nakua, they have a Tutu Atwell. I don't know who the fuck they have behind that. Just just like down in the Texans, you got fucking you got Nico Collins, you got Tank Dell, and you got fucking Diggs. And I don't know who's sitting behind those 3 guys. You know what I mean? So I think that if you looked at the Texans, you would give them the edge on tight end because I don't even know who's starting at tight end up in LA anymore, man. Like we got one of the dudes that used to be there. What the hell is his name, man? We signed him this off season. But I think he was in San Diego last year before he came to us. So
yeah. Well, last
Everton.
season, the Texans had they had Collins, they had Tank Dell, and they had another receiver because they had 3 different guys that was putting numbers up. That's why everybody was like, "Holy shit!" when they signed Diggs, because then it was like 4. You had 4 receivers. I want to say it was a dude last name Brown or man, I cannot remember who it was, but there was a guy that was putting up great numbers for him, and so everybody assumed, hey, they're going to have 4 wide receivers there, and yet Collins has.
You got Nico Collins, you got Tank Dell, and who was the other one, man?
I'll have to look it up, man. But they did last year. They had 4, and they had some damn good wide receivers. Now one obviously has dropped off.
Right now, Diggs is kind of looking like a shell of his former self. The Buffalo offense looks like it's hitting on all cylinders while Diggs is struggling to get a few catches down there in fucking in Houston. So
they had Woods that was playing well for him last year. Robert Woods.
Yeah.
But
he's in Dallas now, I think.
Yeah, he may be. Yeah, I think you're right. But anyway, like I said, it was another shocking win. Nobody saw. No, on paper, nobody had the Rams beating the 49ers. So it was 100% a shocker. The next one, we thought maybe that it would be, and it was close. It was a close game. We had the Chiefs winning 22-17 over the Atlanta Falcons. I think after the way Cousins had played the week before, people were more higher. A lot of people thought, hey, the Falcons might be able to edge out the Chiefs. They were not able to. So,
yep.
But I don't have many takeaways from this. Once again, in another game, Kelsey hasn't played well this season at all.
Not just Kelsey. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, defenses are locking in on Kelsey a little more, but he definitely looks like he's lost a step. But Mahomes isn't having a great year right now, man. Like if you look at his like last, I'd say 7-8 game stats, dude, he's got like just as many picks and shit as he's got fucking
No, this year alone, Mahomes has thrown 5 touchdowns. He's thrown 4 interceptions.
Yeah.
He only has 659 yards, which is 12th, and I believe that one step ahead of him is Rodgers. Rodgers has thrown more yards than Mahomes, but the talent isn't there receiver-wise. In this game, Rice, 12 catches, 110 yards, 1 touchdown. Kelsey, 4.
They lost their starting running back, which was Pacheco.
The Russian. But the Russian wasn't that bad. The white boy stepped in, Carson Steele, 17 rushes, 72 yards. Pirine, however you want to say it, 6 carries, 25. They ran for 128 yards on the ground. But it will change up this week because they have another running back there.
They're bringing Hunt back.
Yes.
Yep,
so we'll see. We'll see
what him off the practice squad.
Yes. So we'll see what numbers he can do. Last time he was there, he was booting in a woman's face out in the front yard. And he left there, went to Cleveland, and he put up great numbers in Cleveland. So we'll see.
Yep.
that was a game where I just expected more out of Kirk Cousins. I really did. After the way Kirk Cousins had played the week before, Kirk Cousins still came in throwing 230 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 20 to
Well,
29.
I read a thing about this, and they were saying that if the Falcons wanted to bench Kirk Cousins right now, they would have an argument to like renege his deal, basically, only paying for up to what he's played this far, because he came out just like a week ago or maybe a week and a half ago and said, I'm still not 100% healed from that injury and shit. And one of the stipulations when he signed that deal was that he was on his shit. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, it wasn't good, but Atlanta couldn't get the ball rolling there on the ground. They had no running game. Bijan Robinson, once again, as this guy has seemed to do, he'll be there, he'll explode for a big game, and then he disappears.
I don't understand it either, man. Coming out of Texas, that dude was a monster running back, and Kyle Pitts was a fucking killer coming out of college. Like, dude, they got some talent down there, bro. Like, they actually kind of got some stupid talent down there with Drake London, and they signed Darnell Mooney from the which he had a good game. Fucking that son of a bitch. All these Bears players.
Yeah. That drives you nuts when a guy leaves your team after not putting up numbers, not doing shit, and then goes to another team and puts up these numbers. It pisses you off. I agree.
Yeah, for sure.
But on the next game, we had 2 Monday night games this past week. Buffalo coming out, trouncing the Jaguars 47-10. In 2 of my leagues, I have Josh Allen as my quarterback. He came out throwing 4 touchdown passes, looked like a gem, and he put up some numbers for me. And the Jaguars, I think something's wrong with Lawrence. I think he's hurt.
Bennett said it last week, man. He said that Lawrence was hurt, and he said that he thought that Lawrence was going to sit out, and he didn't. And look how that ended. So
I agree. But Buffalo shined. Buffalo's 3-0. Jacksonville, a surprising 0-3 team. They don't get the ball running on the ground. They've had issues at quarterback and that defense. Let's not forget, just 2 years ago, they had the number one overall pick, and instead of taking Hutchinson at defensive end, they took, I can't even remember what that dude's name is, and Hutchinson leads the NFL right now, just a notch above McDonald from the Jets. I think he has 1 sack more. I think he's leading the league with 6.5 sacks. And I can't even remember the dude's name that Jacksonville took. Horrible drafting when you have the number 1 overall pick. They should have traded it away and not drafted this guy because they paid him all this money. This guy isn't producing, I don't believe. Maybe he is. I just can't even remember his name. But that defense is not doing anything. They're not stopping anybody. Their quarterback
I remember a few years ago. I don't think this was the Hutchinson draft, but Jacksonville did some shit, and they had a high draft pick, and they ended up drafting a guy named Dante Fowler. And I remember I was on Facebook like, what the fuck are you doing, Jacksonville? And I had a buddy that was a Florida Gators fan, and he was on there. He was like, this dude's going to be a killer, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this dude's going to fucking do shit, man. Like, he's undersized, and they're going to try to play him at defensive end, and it's not going to work, man. And I was right, I don't think it was that Hutchinson draft. I think it was one before that or a couple before that. So
yeah, they haven't done shit. Let's just be honest. Jacksonville is struggling right now. They're 0-3. And then on to the last surprise of the week, the last game of the week. We had, in a surprise, the Washington Commanders going to Cincy and picking up a surprise win, 38-33 over the Bengals. What do you think about this game, D'Lo?
The Bengals are struggling, but I mean they're struggling on defense. They're not hitting their stride on offense like they usually did. I think they underestimated how much Joe Mixon meant to that team.
I agree. They picked up Zach Moss, who
that's not the same caliber of player, though, man. It's just not,
no.
And I just with Chase having his off the field issues, wanting to get paid and running it so late into into the season or whatever it was, and T. Higgins just now coming back in. It may be a couple weeks, man. Them motherfuckers may end up going 0-5, like the way they're playing right now. So we'll see.
Burrows put up 324 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks in that game. And the team ran for 124 yards with Chase Brown stepping in for 62 yards on 7 carries. Zach Moss running the ball 12 times for 58 yards. Burrows 1 time for 4. Chase picking up 6 catches for 118 yards, 2 touchdowns. But before, Cincinnati had a 3-headed receiving monster not long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And now when you look at it, no T. Higgins. He's played sparingly when he has this past week.
They let a dude named Tyler Boyd go. He was their third receiver. Yes. And they let him walk and fucking and you let him and an awesome receiving back out of the backfield and Mixon go, they're gonna fill that shit, man. You know what I'm saying?
And the Commanders coming in with their rookie, Jaden Daniels, throwing for 254 yards. He was 21 of 23. Only 2 of his catches not being caught. 2 touchdowns, no picks. They ran the ball 108 yards evenly behind 3 guys. Daniels was the number 1 rusher, 12 carries, 39 yards. Austin Eckler, 3 for 35. And Brian Robinson Jr., 16 carries, 33 yards, but every one of them rushed for a touchdown.
Well,
but number 1 receiver for Washington, of course, was Terry McLaurin, 4 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown.
Well, the only thing I can say about it is good win for the Commanders. Just they need to please the Native American and change it back to the Redskins. You know what I mean?
But with that game ending the week, Cincinnati 0-3, Washington 2-1 on the season. That's got to be a surprise. I don't think too many people had Washington being 2-1 on the season.
And nobody had Cincinnati losing to not only Washington but New England. And I don't who was.
Hold on. Oh, yeah, you're back on there. All right. Lost you for a second there, and then we just added you back.
Yeah. Who was it that Cincinnati lost to last week?
Let me see. Let me go into this. We'll see. Ooh. They have lost to the Patriots, the Chiefs, and the Commanders now.
Right on.
So let's go ahead and jump. Let's jump straight from here. Let's jump.
You expected it with the Chiefs, but you didn't expect them to lose to Washington and the Patriots. All right.
No. Fine. But let's jump from here. Let's go right in. Let's make some picks. D'Lo, I already got it set up here. I'm going to be marking them. We're going to do kind of a fast round thing. And we're going to start off with tonight's game. We got the Cowboys traveling to New York to play the Giants. Both teams are 1-2.
As good as the Giants played last week, I still expect Daniel Jones to be Daniel Jones. I expect the Cowboys to win big.
I also am taking the Cowboys this week. they didn't play horrible against the Ravens. The Ravens are a top team. We all assume that. But both of these teams are 1-2. Somebody's going to walk away from this game being 2-2, and somebody's going to walk away being 1-3. And we both are deciding that it's going to be the Cowboys walking away 2-2. Next up, we have the Denver Broncos traveling to New York to take on the New York Jets. Now, as surprising as that win was last week for the Broncos, the Jets are just rolling. And the way that defense is, Rodgers playing, I'm taking the Jets.
Me too, man. Taking the Jets. The defense looks good. Rodgers is starting to come into form. You guys got that two-headed monster at running back.
That defense.
Yep. So, yeah, you guys, I think you guys should take this one comfortably.
All right, next up, here's a game for you, and it's important to you because it's two teams in your division. We got the Vikings traveling to the frozen tundra to take on the Packers. I'm going to go ahead and tell you mine. I'm taking the Vikings. I'm taking them, and I'm telling you why I'm going to take them, because they're not going to suffer their first loss until the week following when they go to London and they play the Jets. That's 100% why I'm taking the Vikings this week.
That's funny. That's funny that you say that, and that's a possibility because Aaron Rodgers knows them Vikings, man. But
yes,
I'm taking the Vikings as well. As good as the Packers played against the Titans, I don't expect Malik Willis to continue that, and I expect the Vikings to come in and handle business. So.
On this next one, we got the Saints traveling to Atlanta to play the Falcons. Will the Saints rebound? Will the Falcons rebound? Who are you taking in this game?
I'll tell you, I don't expect either team to rebound in this one. Somebody's going to come out a winner, but I expect both teams to struggle in this one, actually. This is a division game. The NFC South always kind of steps up when they play each other. So I expect I'm going to go with Atlanta. It may be the last time I go with Atlanta if they don't fucking step their game up a little bit. So,
all right. Well, I am going the Saints. I think that the Saints rebound. I think Derek Carr comes out, explodes. I don't think he's happy. I don't think that whole team is happy about how they played last week. And I think the Saints come out and they beat down on the Falcons. Next up, we got the Eagles traveling down to Tampa Bay to play the Bucs. Who you got here?
The Eagles playing the Bucs. I went with the Eagles on this one. I don't know about the Bucs. That's really all I'm gonna say. But I really don't know about the Eagles either at times. But I guess I just don't know, about the Bucs a little more. So
I'm taking the Bucs in this game. I think Baker Mayfield comes out. He's probably disappointed himself the way he played. I believe in Baker Mayfield, and I think that Baker Mayfield comes out and shocks the Eagles. I would say on paper that the Eagles are probably favored in this game, but I'm taking the Bucs in this. Next up, we just talked about them. Are they going to go 0-4? Cincinnati Bengals travel to a team who's got a resurgence. They're playing like champions after only 1 week. The Carolina Panthers. Who are you taking?
Who's the Panthers playing?
The Bengals.
Let me go take a look at my picks on this one because I may have took the Panthers. No, I took the Bengals. I'm not real confident in that pick. That's really all I'm gonna say about that. So
I'm gonna take the Panthers. The way that the Red Rider has got them going.
The Red Rifle.
I'm calling him the Red Rider. I'm taking the Panthers in, which would be an upset between these two teams. Sure, most people have, as you do, the Bengals winning. Next up, we got the Jaguars, undefeated, 0-3, taking on the Houston Texans.
Both teams have struggled this year. I believe Trevor Lawrence didn't deserve the massive contract that he got. I believe that the Texans will win this game. So,
all right. I am also running with the Texans in this game. I think that they rebound after last week. I think that they come out and they get a big win. And sad part is that we're both saying Jacksonville is going to start out 0-4. Next up, we have the Steelers traveling to Indianapolis to play the Colts. I'm telling you right now, I'm taking the Colts. I don't believe in the Steelers. I don't think that they're as good as what people think that they are or what their record says that they are. Who you take? I'm taking the Colts. Who you taking, Colts or Steelers?
I'm taking the Steelers. I think the Colts should be 0-3 right now. We gave them that game, and I think the Steelers they got a better head coach than we got. They got somebody that can expose Richardson for what he is. He's a fraud, and I'm taking the Steelers.
All right. Next up, we have the Rams traveling to play the Bears.
I'm taking the Rams.
Well, hold on. I got to use Bethlehem again. You go ahead and explain on why you're taking them in this game real quick.
Yeah, I'm taking the Rams. I mean, as much as it hurts to lose players like Aaron Donald and Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, things like that. Matt Stafford is a much more experienced and a better quarterback than Caleb Williams. He's gonna lead his team down the field. They'll probably score 21 points, and that'll be too much for us to even come close to. I mean, anybody that's watched any bit of a Bears game this year understands that we can't move the ball. Caleb Williams had a decent week against the Colts, gave up 2 picks, but I mean, without an offensive line, you can't do a whole lot. So, just one of those things. I'm picking the Rams on. I'm sure as soon as Phil gets his headphones on, he'll explain to you who it is that he's picking. Who you got, Phil?
Okay. In this game, I'm taking the Rams. I've already matched them up. Sorry about that. I've had too many beers sitting out here while doing this podcast. So, yeah. So you took the Rams?
Yeah, I took the Rams.
I took the Rams because I took the Bears last week. They let me down. They really did. I really thought that it was the Bears game to win last week against Indy, and they let me down. And with the way that the Rams just played, they gave new hope. And I guess something that we never said about the Rams was that they've always still had Williams, the running back there. That guy can still get the yards.
I talked about him earlier. He's a good running back. So,
yes.
Yeah.
All right, next up, we have the Commanders going to Arizona, playing the Cardinals. I got the Cardinals in this game. Who do you have?
The Commanders are playing the Cardinals.
Yes.
Let me make that my upset of the week. There, I'll take the Commanders, man. I guess I'm just feeling Jaden Daniels a little more than I am Kyler Murray. So.
I think you're just drinking the Kool-Aid, and I refuse to. I will not wear your black Nikes and drink that purple Kool-Aid and get ready to be lifted up to a spaceship. So I am going to stick with my pick.
Were they both Heisman Trophy winners?
I think Murray was. Did Daniels win it?
Yeah, he won it last year, man.
And then we got to say yes.
Yep. So.
Next up, we have the Patriots traveling to San Francisco to play the 49ers, and I've already marked mine down. I'm taking the 49ers. Who you got?
I'll take the 49ers as well. I heard some bad news today that Christian McCaffrey had traveled to like Germany or something to get a second opinion. I guess there's a good doctor that works on Achilles or whatever there, and they told him 2 months. At least 2 months he's going to.
So is it torn? What's going on there? Is it ruptured? What
said that it's like right where the Achilles meets the calf muscle or whatever it is, and fucking that's where he's having issues at. They never came out and said it was torn, but they said that the issue was ongoing from training camp. So,
Well, listen, I read more than I wanted to know about the Achilles last year.
That means that this Monroe or whatever his name is going to have to carry the load. And
no, you're talking about Mason.
Mason, there you go.
Yeah.
He's going to have to carry the load, and I mean, it may get difficult at times but I'm gonna go with the Niners this week.
All right. Next up, Browns traveling to Vegas to play the Raiders. I'm taking the Browns. I think that they're going to rebound. They're going to win. Who's your pick here?
I'm gonna go with the Browns, man. I don't have, like I said, man. It's hard. It's so hard to say with the Raiders, man, because it's like if you're starting Minshew, that dude could have 5 touchdowns or he could have 5 interceptions. You know what I mean? Like he reminds me so much sometimes of Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm gonna go with the Browns here. I think they're a better team. So.
All right, Chiefs versus Chargers. I'm taking the Chiefs.
I am as well. The biggest thing about the Chargers right now is they haven't been able to unleash any kind of aerial assault. They've been trying to run everything, and that's not necessarily Justin Herbert's style, man. Like there may end up being some shit to that in the future. Watch. Him not his numbers being down and him not getting used the way that he properly should be or whatever it is. I think that winning will squash all that. But if they're not winning and his numbers are down and they're not firing that ball like they should, I think there's going to be some issues. So
I just believe that the Chiefs, even without star players, which outside of Mahomes and Chelsea isn't putting up yards this year, that team finds they're like a veteran team, and they know how to win. Reed has them ready week in and week out. They find a way to win, and so far, they've won this year. So I know that the Chargers are coming in, and you got hardball, you got all that, but I believe that the Chiefs find a way to make it win. Next up,
it's crazy to me because when all of these, head coaches are being interviewed in the off season, they're interviewing all these Mike Shanahan proteges or whatever, or not Mike Shanahan, Kyle Shanahan proteges and McVay proteges and things like that. And everybody kind of like nowadays, everybody's kind of staying away from the Andy Reid guys because we hired Nagy and he was terrible. And then they had that black guy. What was his name? He was their offensive.
He went to Washington, and they said he was being
Bellamy. His name is Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah,
and dude, they talked about how he was like a toxic type of coach and shit. So it's like Andy Reid.
You just got to realize it's not the '90s football anymore. These guys, they're old school. They yell at their players. They don't baby them. And a lot of these players, you got to stroke their ego, and that's exactly what it is, man.
How does a guy like Bieniemy survive in a situation where, Andy Reid seems like one of the calmest people you fucking can meet, dude. Like he's not like when you're talking to him and shit. Like
each other, they balance each other. You had a guy that would yell and expected perfection. You had Reid that was there to pull it in. So you had good cop, bad cop.
Yeah,
good coach, bad coach. And they always wondered why this guy was not getting. Some people thought it was because he was black. I think he's a good coach. I really do. But these guys,
I do too. I agree that he's a good coach, and like you said, he's just got to have somebody there to reel him in. And putting him in charge as a head coach would probably be a mistake because he would try to challenge a player or do something stupid, and next thing you know, it would all come unraveled. You know what I mean? So
it's how it was when I coached football. I was the bad coach, Bennett was a good coach. Bennett would not get on to a kid if he walked off the field with his head down and didn't want to come back in. You know what I'm saying?
There's those moments where it's like being that hard ass coach can be a good thing, and there's also those moments where being a coach, like being the player's friend type of coach, can be a good thing. But excess of either one can be a bad thing. Look at the situation there with Buffalo when Rex Ryan was running it and fucking dude got his jaw. Was it Gino got his jaw broke, or was it the other dude? One of them got their jaw broke.
That was in New York. That was not Buffalo. That was when he was in New York. That's when Geno Smith got his jaw broke because he had a bet with a defensive player and he didn't pay up, even though there was an ATM. Which who the fuck puts an ATM in a locker room? But they had it in the locker room. He didn't pay, and the dude punched him because he owed him money. And it is what it is. But it's some you. I like a coach that doesn't stroke the ego, that isn't out
Yeah.
there letting the guy know he's great. I like a coach that, even though the guy went out and threw 3 touchdowns and threw for 300 yards and did all this, he still lets him know, hey, there's room for improvement. There's a guy, I like those coaches that expect perfection. But these are also the coaches that are the first one in the building, last one to go home. All they're asking to do is nothing that they wouldn't do themselves.
Yeah,
But
but I mean, at the same time, like you said, this isn't the '90s anymore, and these guys, these
have
kids
been
coming out,
pampered. They've been pampered since they were in
yeah, these
high
kids coming
school.
out of college and high school, they're coming out of high school as 5-star recruits. Then they're going into college getting NIL deals. They're and these kids are coming out of college millionaires before they even hit the NFL, dude. They're like, "Fuck you, dude!" Like
Yeah, to
I
have a coach talk to them and talk down to them, it's kind of like it's beneath them. It's like they got to raise up their red card and say, "I need a moment," and fuck that. You know what I'm saying? Fuck that. Listen, some of the best players like Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, they didn't rave about their good games. They got down about their worst games, and that's what they focused on. They always wanted to improve. And a lot of
yeah.
these younger kids, they don't look to improve. They want the shiny stars put on their
Well,
helmet.
I mean, they say they want to improve, but at the same time, are they putting in the work to do so? The thing that made Jordan great was, when he missed a shot in a game that he knew he should have hit, he went back to practice and he shot that shot like 2,000-3,000 times. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like he's like, I ain't never missing that shot again. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And that's the shit that same way with Larry Bird, man. Like, he was shooting threes thousands of times, man. When you're putting in the work, that's what makes you a great player. And a lot of these players come in, they're so pampered that they don't have to put in the work. You know what I mean?
That's why
Like,
that's why America and us as a whole, we like these guys that go undrafted, these guys that had to work their ass off, not
yeah.
just to make the practice squad, and then they keep working their and they don't stop, even though they get a chance and they excel, and then once they make the
Well,
active
I mean, when
roster,
these guys come in, dude, and they do
always
good,
hungry.
like a Brock Purdy or a Tommy DeVito, dude, they sweep the nation with that shit, dude. People are
Yes.
like, "Holy shit, dude! Look at this guy." He came out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Fucking.
Or even when a guy gets upset because he feels like he should have been the number one overall pick and he wasn't, he was taken maybe 10 picks later or wasn't taken until the second round. They hold that grudge and that makes them a better player. They keep working their ass off, even after they've gotten the accolades. They
Well,
keep
I
working
always
their ass off.
remember that little dude that played with the Panthers. His name's Steve Smith, wide receiver, little spunky motherfucker. You remember him, Steve Smith?
Yes. Yeah.
And he he always talked about it, man. He's like, I always played with a chip on my shoulder, and he's like, that's what made me have a great career. And she's like, if I would have came in there thinking that I deserved everything that I was I was getting and this and that, he's like, or not that he deserved it, but more like fucking just satisfied with everything that he had done. He's like, I always played like I was hungry, man.
I always go
So
back to Wayne Corbett. He's my favorite Jet player, a guy that
yeah.
wasn't drafted, that walked on. He just so happened to go to college where the Jets were practicing at, and he went out there and ended up making the starting roster, and then had a battle with the guy that was the number one overall pick, who called him a flashlight, comparing to him, who he
You're
said
talking
was
about
a star.
Keyshawn.
Yeah,
Keyshawn.
yes, and
Yeah.
that Wayne Corbett had. I'd say he had a good 10-year run in the NFL until it was taken
Yeah,
away from him. Concussion.
probably at least 8. Yeah, he started. He just too many concussions and
But
shit.
just a
But
dude that worked his ass off in the gym, worked his ass off on the field. No compliment ever made him think that he was that. He always kept that chip on his shoulder, and I love that. So,
yeah.
all right, we got 3 more games left. We got the Bills traveling this week to Baltimore to play the Ravens. I'm taking the Bills. They're on a roll. They're 3-0. I think they're going to be 4-0. What do you think?
I think this is going to be a closer game than. It's not just going to be like, oh, the Bills are going to come in and wreck shop, but Yeah, I think the Bills will probably take it. I think that Baltimore they're going to come out pissed off that they
We got to
lost the
win
game.
though. No, but they beat the Cowboys this past week. But
Yeah,
Baltimore is sitting at 1-2, so
yeah,
they're trying to climb up the ranks. They're trying to add a notch to that belt of knocking off Buffalo. But I just see Buffalo being too strong. The way that Allen's playing, he's hitting on all cylinders. So
yeah.
next up this week, we have 2 Monday night games. In the first one, we have the Titans traveling to Miami to play the Dolphins. I'm taking the Dolphins. I think they'll rebound. I think that they're going to go with a different quarterback. I can't. Let's just say I think Miami's going to win with their defense and their running game this week. What do you think?
I disagree. I think that the Titans are finally going to pull a win out, and it's only because the Dolphins are so beat up, and I don't know who else are they going to go with if that Skylar Thompson's not available. Like I don't even know. I don't even know who they have on their roster, dude.
No, they let go of
Mike White.
Yeah, they let go of Mike White. So
Yeah.
on their depth chart, I can go and see. Let's see who they do have because I'm not 100% sure. Let's see. They got Tim Boyle, they got Tyler Huntley, who has seen some action with a couple of different teams.
Yeah, I think they signed him or traded for him last week. So, yeah, I'm going to go with I'm going to go with Tennessee. I think that Levis has a decent game, and if that running game can get going at all with old boy from that signed from Dallas and fucking that Sharp or whatever. If they can get those guys moved, Pollard and Sharp, they can get those guys moving and shit.
Spears.
Or Spears, yeah. If they can get those guys moving and take a little bit of pressure off of Levis and let Levis, drop back and have a little bit of time to throw when he's on his drop backs, I think they could have a decent game, man. So.
And then the final game of the week, we have the undefeated Seahawks traveling to Detroit to play the Lions. I've already got it notched down in my booklet. I am taking the Lions. Who are you taking?
We're gonna go with Seattle on this one. I think they remain hot, and then they fall off about midway point. But they're gonna be the team that everybody's like on a shocker right now. They're gonna be like, oh my god, they're fucking this and that, and then about the midway point, they'll start just collapsing. So.
All right. Well, that ends our recap of week 3 and our picks for week 4.
Before we sign off, I just want to ask you, what do you think about the fact that we have a Thursday night game, we have a Saturday game, we have Sunday games, and we have 2 Monday nighters?
Oh, you say there's a Saturday game this week?
There is a Saturday game. It's the Buccaneers and
No. Nope. We got Thursday night. Nope. There is no Saturday game this week.
I thought they said there was a Saturday game. I thought I heard it on the radio, but I've heard people already complaining about the 2 Monday nighters and shit. So
I don't know why people get upset. It's like
they had the Monday nighters, I think, at the same time this last week, and so you can't.
No, there was about an hour difference, I believe, in start time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, and we got a little bit. I don't want to go over 2 hours in the podcast, but we got we're at an hour and 48 minutes in. I would like to talk about something. Just recently, I don't know if it was yesterday, but Netflix released the Vince McMahon docuseries. I've only watched the first 2 episodes. I just started the third. I had to pause it. I know you haven't. You've downloaded it. You haven't watched any of it yet. But what are your thoughts on Netflix releasing this? The thought in WWE.
I mean, I haven't seen it yet, but from everything, everything I'm reading and the reviews and shit, they're saying that Vince is pretty upset about it. That they kind of misled him, basically stating that he would allow certain things to be, documented or whatever, but at the same time, they had to allow him to tell his side of the story. And I guess
some context for the listeners out there, for anybody that don't know, Vince McMahon actually okayed this and was a willing part of it and was going to sit down, and it's, I believe, 5 or 6 part series, and they've broken it up into 5 or 6 episodes. But they came in around 2020, or right after the pandemic, 2021, and they started sitting down doing interviews, and they had full range of the roster and everything else. They're sitting there interviewing Hall of Famers and people from the past, and through the first 2 episodes, I thought it was great. Now, what a lot of people are getting hit on with this is that this was before the allegations. They started filming this before the allegations came out about Vince McMahon, the hush money, the sexual shit, all that. And so far, most people have talked highly about Vince McMahon. And if you watch pro wrestling today, or you've been a fan within the last 20, 30 years, and you enjoy pro wrestling, you have to thank Vince McMahon, because he is the man. He is if you look at it as the mafia, he is the godfather of modern day professional wrestling. If you enjoy anything that you see going to these shows, it's because Vince McMahon started all that. Before him, it was all territories. They talk about that through the first 2 episodes, how he bought it from his dad. He talks about his relationship with his dad, something that I've never heard in all the years. You've never heard Vince McMahon talk about himself so much, and he talks about it in that, how he doesn't like talking about himself. You hear about the relationship, like he basically had no relationship with his dad till he was 13 or 15. That's when his dad, and up until that point, all he knew was his mom, and he had a stepdad, and they lived in a trailer park in North Carolina. He was not, even though his dad had money and was this grand booker promoter up in New York, he lived a very poor life in North Carolina, where he got abused by his stepdad, all the time, until he met his dad, and his dad was.
Well, I didn't know that his dad and his mom weren't together. I didn't know. So,
and he talked about the beatings that he took from his stepdad, and then finally meeting his dad, and he details in it about how his dad never even told him he loved him until 2 days before his dad passed away.
That's crazy.
And he talks about.
I know his dad charged him $1 million for the federation or whatever.
But it was so crazy that his dad expected him to fail. Like his dad brought him in, sent him as an announcer, and then his dad gave him a part of the territory up in Maine, in Bangor, Maine. You know what I'm saying? And he turned that around, and then his dad was going to sell the company to one of his closest people, which was Gorilla Monsoon.
Yeah.
But Ben stepped in and said, sell it to me. And if I default on one payment, then you get the company back and get to keep all the money. And his dad agreed to it. And when he made the final payment, even his dad said, I didn't believe that you were going to make the payments. I didn't. Most people thought he was going to fail. And so he didn't even have his dad's like backing. Like his dad thought he was a failure, thought he was going to fail. And when you see all this, I'm not making any excuses for him. But also with the allegations, a lot of people are like, they won't come out and say, they want to say Janelle Grant, who was the woman who filed the lawsuit against him, they call her a victim. I don't call her a victim. I call her a woman that was all down for the ride as long as she was making money and getting paid. She did not care until the payment stopped. And once the payment stopped, then she put on the victim. She was a bona fide prostitute. You can call it whatever, but she was a part of it, and she was okay with it till the money stopped.
I agree. I mean, she was living a lavish life because of the shit that she was allowing to be done. If Vince was taking a shit on her, she was getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for him taking a shit on her. You know what I mean? Like
she was brought in and had no experience in the role that she was put in, but yet was making $500,000 a year for doing nothing. And then,
well, I mean, she was doing something, but you know what I mean? It's just,
she didn't mind doing that. But you know what I'm saying? She got health care. She got all these benefits because she was brought in on the company side. She wasn't a pro wrestler who are considered independent contractors and have to cover their own health care. And most people are like, they want to put her off as like she was a victim of Vince McMahon. If anybody was a victim of Vince McMahon over the years, you could say certain wrestlers, but I don't believe this woman was a victim. This woman knew what it was to get go. I think
Well,
maybe
I'm sure there were several. See that's the whole thing. If this shit ends up going to court, I'm sure there's several people that are probably nervous about their names coming out because she already stated that there was certain individuals that she was told to sleep with and
but
things
she had
like that.
options. Like she could have been told to sleep with, but she was a woman with options. And here's the reason why she slept with them. And most people won't say this, but we're going to be honest here. She did it because she wanted the money. The money was good.
Absolutely. Yeah, I
How
mean,
in the
I
hell
agree.
did she live in the beginning? It's portrayed that she was this poor down and out girl that was taking care of her parents while they were dying. But yet she was living.
I thought she met Vince at a penthouse that she lived in or
Yeah,
something.
how did she live in Vincent Mann's penthouse where most billionaires lived in?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like she already had some type of money, and her parents were already dead.
She had probably already had some kind of lawsuit or inheritance
No,
come her way.
she had a boyfriend at the time that she was living there with, and when she started this affair with Vincent Mann, I'm not trying to say Vincent Mann's like he was married and he's been married. He's still married to this day. But this woman now all of a sudden sees dollar signs and lawyers are taking her in and they're saying, oh, this woman was used and abused. She was used and abused, but she was okay with it as long as she was receiving those hundreds of $1,000s of payment every year.
Yeah.
But when that
All
when
right,
that
man.
money
Well, we're cutting close on time, so but
Jeff,
yeah, again,
we'll get back with this conversation. We appreciate y'all tuning in. Like I said, we did week 3 review, week 4 picks, did a little wrestling talk. We'll be back soon to do another podcast. Any final words for you, D'Lo?
we'll be back next week. Probably either anywhere between Tuesday and Thursday, man. We're gonna try to make this a regular weekly thing. So
make sure you like, share, subscribe if you're not already a subscriber to us, and we appreciate everybody that tunes in. And this has been another edition of the Worst Case Scenario.
see ya.